Psycho.
You know the film?
Anthony Perkins, Janet Leigh, Universal, 1960. Little known fact. Did you know that Hitchcock surprised Janet Leigh with freezing cold water in order to get her to scream so effectively?
Who are you?
Dawson Leary.
Then I take it you'll be in my fifth period film lab.
Actually, that's why I'm here. There seems to have been some confusion with my schedule. I was denied admittance to your film class.
Then you must be a sophomore.
And that's not a good thing?
This is a very popular class, Dawson. Seating is limited. There's a waiting list. Priority goes to upperclassmen.
Well, that's stupid.
Excuse me?
Who made that rule?
I did.
Huh.
Why are you so adamant?
Passion, Mr. Gold. Pure, mad-driven passion. Movies are my life.
Oh, I see.
I'm sorry. I'm not coming across well at all here. Like, the point is, I'm going to be a filmmaker. It's my life's ambition. It always has been.
When we want to talk media conception on social media platforms, the only way available to do that is through creating content. In this case, media conception talk becomes related to trends, timing, and algorithms. Like books, for example, on TikTok. Reading discussions are presented with a dimension of competition or pressure due to the platform's exigency to suggest content, like having a certain visual identity or aesthetic, or being among a competitive, saturated type of content, or the occasional pressure of talking about that book or music when it's released in order to be a part of the wave. However, when it comes to film talk, specifically on Letterboxd, things seem to be different compared to media conception talk on other social media platforms, mainly due to the fact that there is no such thing as creating content to talk about a film. The Letterboxd website and app are built in a way where every single user can talk about a film, archive it, and categorize it with the same tools and features, which makes it look like old forums or old internet. According to the film critic Scott Tobias, films' release date don't matter. The discussions about films continue even after the hype. This is the appeal of Letterboxd. Before Letterboxd, the Criterion Collection YouTube channel or the Bro Readers Channel 1, before the No Film School podcast, etc., film talks were held through regular discussions between cinephiles during movie nights, organized debates around films, Q&As after movie premieres and projections, or simply through engaging in conversations about films while renting a DVD in a video store, through film criticism in articles and reviews published on newspapers, magazines, or during table talks about film releases on TV programs. Then the internet took over the world, and websites for rating and reviewing films appeared, like Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, and lately Letterboxd. And as Letterboxd gained in popularity, film talk took bigger proportions. Scott Tobias wrote, "The wings of film culture are shifting in ways that are favorable to Letterboxd. The pandemic has hastened the migration from theaters to home viewing, as well as the migration of film criticism from vocation to hobby. Whatever non-virtual ways we used to talk about films before, Letterboxd is suddenly positioned to be that place," he added. Now that the pandemic is over and people are going back to theaters to watch films, not as much as they should because theaters experience is better than streaming platforms, but still, Letterboxd has become the ultimate digital place for film talk.
My name's Lavender Suarez, and I do music and film scoring as C. Lavender. It looks like Clavender on Letterboxd.
What are the last 4 movies you watched?
Other than its old internet aspect, the appeal of Letterboxd compared to other film rating websites or even user-generated platforms consists in its overall identity, its editorial line, and the simplicity of usage without creating content, like the concept of film diary, the presence of a digital magazine about film culture, the video store mentality, and the feature of making endless lists of film with different themes on the platform. On the way Letterboxd platform was built, Scott Tobias said diary was one of the words Matthew focused on when he and his co-founder were conceiving in the years before it launched in 2011. The other word was lists. Those were the building blocks of the service, and they are almost embarrassingly true to how the cinephile mind works to compartmentalize the films that pass through it. The common denominator among Letterboxd users tends to be a compulsion to log in and order the things they have seen, which many of them were already doing using spreadsheets or pen and paper. Letterboxd is a social media site that opens up those habits to public scrutiny, but the trade-off is that it also functions as a vast warehouse of opinion and hard data. The other point that seems to make Letterboxd stand out is that social media management team and that journalists and editors want that extend film talk outside the platform. On Instagram, TikTok, and film interviews, both teams created film-related cultural rituals and momentums inspired by the platform's own editorial line to expand Letterboxd's cultural image, like asking actors, actresses, and film directors about their 4 last watched films or their 4 favorite ones, which is something we can find on the platform as well. And in a non-pejorative way, there is also the amateur side, yet professional, to that social media management strategy that gives the impression that a bunch of people who love watching and talking films decided to create the Instagram and TikTok pages during interviews, which is something refreshing to see film journalists ask accurate professional questions, yet making red carpet interviews an agreeable experience limited to film talk rather than gossip or private life. Jessica Goldstein wrote for the Washington Post, "A Letterboxd interview is fast becoming a don't skip promo stop. Actors talk about their 4 favorite thematically appropriate movies and directors go along on their cinematic influences." Like any film review type of website, Letterboxd is predominantly used by amateurs. Not everyone is a professional cinema critic. However, compared to other film review platforms, actors, actresses, and directors happen to be a part of this platform as cinephiles, not necessarily giving objective reviews of other films, but simply writing their first impressions like everyone else. One of these cases would be Ayo Edebiri, and even if the community aspect of Letterboxd isn't easy to define according to Scott Tobias, because it can vary greatly depending on where conversations take place, however, 2 mechanisms or patterns could define Letterboxd's community: the availability of mainly 2 types of diaries or reviews, the short Letterboxd reviews that usually consist in describing the part you would remember about the film, or the long elaborated essays, and the variety of film lists that don't stick to categorizing films into genres or subgenres, but expand them into themes proper to each user's wideness. Describing Letterboxd's digital community, Ben Ellis said on his essay that it's about cultural identity curation and new taste discovery type of community. He wrote, "Letterboxd users curate their cultural identity through personal content diaries. They organically uncover new taste communities on a platform that leaves discovery free of algorithms." What's constructive about a platform like Letterboxd is making users diversify that film culture, like watching classics or films that are not necessarily mainstream, or make people go back to theaters rather than exclusively relying on streaming platforms to watch films, unless it's a case of a film that would only be available for streaming. However, the criticism that could be directed to Letterboxd is the over-gamification of film conception, where the experience of watching films would only be about adding the number of recently watched films and would only be about which user has the highest number. On the other hand, despite having the Letterboxd magazine with actual editors and journalists and the long essay form type of reviews, Letterboxd's users could be criticized for the use of casual criticism instead of critical engagement towards films in their reviews compared to a platform like Goodreads. Realistically speaking, not everyone has to be a professional film critic or a journalist and write critical essays as reviews on Letterboxd. However, the majority of users on Letterboxd use sarcastic punchlines or mere abstract casual descriptions as reviews in their diary. Jack King wrote for JQ, while Letterboxd has encouraged users to watch more films and diversify their viewing habits, one might wonder whether a platform or which lends itself to punchy sardonic wisecracks promotes genuinely critical film engagement. This week, Megalopolis has premiered at Cannes Festival, which marks Francis Coppola's return with a film almost entirely produced by him. Letterboxd's social media team posted this bar graph. After that, Letterboxd's social media team posted this bar graph that represents polarization among the category of people who had access to the film at Cannes. Despite this being the first impression of a limited number of people, because the film isn't out yet on theaters, the reactions under this post reflect the frustrations of people who haven't seen the film yet towards that type of statistics that is available on Letterboxd, like the 1 million watched club or the 10 most popular films this week on Letterboxd. Choosing to post that graph before the film's official release was way too precautious. Honestly, I don't know what the hell the social media team were thinking when they posted that graph, but this leads to ask a question. Does Letterboxd reviews and stats influence a film's performance? That for the same director's future projects? If we take a look at certain comments under that post, like that user who wrote, "Oh boy, it looks like we might have another Babylon situation," referring to how Damien Chazelle's Babylon had the same reaction where people who saw the film were divided between two extremes, where certain people think that the film wasn't given a chance and that this polarization happened under the effect of reputation influence, which led to Damien Chazelle struggling to find producers to finance his next project because working with him is considered as risky. Another person commented, "Can the film have 24 hours to live without such a large platform, drawing attention to how divisive it is? I thought you all were pro-terror, getting treated fairly, but posts like this are why people like David Lynch can't get his film made when we create content that shows just how narrow-minded we as an audience can be and expect that Sally who works in marketing isn't going to read and report this back to a potential distributor and cite your post and these comments as to why the film is just too risky before even thinking that this comment is exaggerating." That person got a point. If we take a look at two key words mentioned in that comment, large platform, which happens to be Letterboxd, attention drawing, and marketing. Despite Letterboxd's initial attention of gathering people who love films, the film industry is about making money. Even indie directors hope to make enough money and draw attention to their work so they can distribute that next project. The film industry is also about reputation. Potential producers and distributors don't care about how narrow-minded or impulsive certain reviews on Letterboxd are. All they care about is the performance and how much money the film is going to make and its reputation in order to trust the director to make their next film.